Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. I spent so many hours playing this game when I was younger. Like, I didn't own the game or even a GameCube at that time, but my friend had the Wii, and the Wii's backwards compatible with the GameCube, so he still had a controller and he had a copy of the game, so every time I went over to his house, we'd be like, let's play Sonic, and then we'd, sprint up the attic and then go play the fucking game for hours. And yeah, his gaming setup was in his attic. It wasn't like some stingy one, it was like actually decorated and furbished, and it was pretty cozy from what I remember it. And yeah, we'd spend hours and hours, and I think I only got as far as Pumpkin Hill because little fucking dinky brain me was like, oh my god, there's Pumpkin Hill, it's too scary. I don't want to play the fucking scary game. So let's go past Pumpkin Hill. After the Japanese release of Sonic Adventure in 1999, some Sonic Team members moved from Japan to San Francisco to create Sonic Team USA, and in there they translated and fixed parts of Sonic Adventure so it could be released worldwide. After this, they began to work on the sequel, where they heavily focused on the story and only adding content they felt was necessary, unlike Adventure 1. They also took obvious inspiration from San Francisco and other locations in America, which is apparent throughout the game. Since it was the final Sonic game to be released on the Sega console, this marked the end of an era in gaming. With its 2 campaigns, interconnecting stories, and 3 gameplay styles, is Sonic Adventure 2 a celebration of Sega's success and impact on the industry, or is it a permanent reminder of why Sega failed in the console market? My name's BlanK, and today we're finally looking at Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. The first stage, Cityscape, is such a cool first level. The music kicks in right when you hit the ground, you immediately start sliding and moving through the stage on the board. It's like such an iconic moment in the series, and it's so cool that SC2 just launches you straight into the energetic gameplay that Sonic is famous for. And I mean, just look at it. You got the background music as well, Escape from the Sea. It's basically engraved into my memory just because of how many times I've heard that song, because I played through it so much. My friend got pissed off with me. I was like, why do you keep playing Cityscape? I'm like, dude, I just love this level. It's so cool. And I still love this level. Look at it. It's just fun. And while starting off your game with immediate action risks confusing the player because they don't properly know the controls, Sonic Team fixes this small issue that I had with the first game by just making the entire thing safe. You can't take damage or die in it, and even after you're done, they give you a safe area to practice the actual controls after the amazing set piece. The rest of the level is pretty simple, with tons of downhill sections inspired by the streets nearby the team's building, and it caps off with this part where there's big ass truck the size of all the buildings, which is just fucking ridiculous, chases after you. Yeah, the camera's too close to you, but it doesn't matter because it's really there to test your speed, because you don't need to do any platforming, you're just going fast. So it's not actually that big of a problem. Sonic retains all of his moves from Adventure 1, with a few new moves and some tweaks to the pre-existing ones. The jump and the homing attack work the exact same way like before, but the spin dash has been slightly changed because, unlike where it begins to charge right when you press B, now you have to hold it down for 2 seconds to be able to use it. Tapping B will now make you do the new somersault move, which is used to go through small openings and to break boxes. And while I found this change to be strange because I was so used to spamming the spin dash in 1, this change was made to emulate the charge time of the spin dash from the classic games, whilst keeping it what made it fun to use before. Upgrades return, and there's far more optional upgrades around this time, but I'll only talk about the ones required for progression for pacing reasons. The Lightspeed Dash upgrade reappears, and it no longer has that charge time, and I mean, oh my god, yes! That was the big problem I had with it in 1. You just tap the B button and it boom, you go through a line of rings and you zip and you keep going. It keeps things moving and it's just so fun to use. The fancy new bounce attack upgrade allows you to bounce higher than your normal jump or break boxes below. I like this ability because it has utility outside of progression, which is something I wish I could say about the flame ring, since all it does is just allow you to break metal crates with the somersault to progress through 1 level. I mean, every character has an upgrade similar to this, and they all feel pointless, oh, wow, I can break more crates now, wowie. Adds nothing to the gameplay. Sonic Adventure 2 is also the introduction of rail grinding. You gotta hop onto a grindable surface and you start to slide right across it. You gotta balance to keep moving fast and speed up by crouching, and I mean, yeah, it's insane how fast you can go at times, but balancing feels really wonky to me, but 90% of the time you don't even need to bother with it, so, I mean, okay. Rail grinding is also what led to Sonic wearing those weird, chunky soap shoes. Their product placement makes sense because, in real life, they have a grind plate on the sole of the shoe that allows you to grind without a skateboard or rollerblades. I mean, I think it was only a fad known by, like, aggressive inline skaters, because if you ask anyone nowadays what soap shoes are, they're gonna be like, what? Sonic has access to 6 stages. Now, stages are shorter and far more linear, but are exclusive to characters, which allows for more interesting level design that focuses on the character's strengths and abilities, like, for example, Metal Harbor. It has tons of homing attack chains, high-speed movement, combined with trails of rings to lightspeed dash through, and this part, where you hop into a rocket within a time limit. This rocket part, it's pretty infamous because there's this difficult optional path that will give you a massive amount of points. You wanna know how difficult? I had 0 seconds left. And guess what, that wasn't even an A rank because I didn't destroy enough enemies. Points and time generally determine what rank you'll be rewarded at the end of the stage in all the missions. Every stage has 5 missions, completing it normally, collecting 100 rings quickly, finding a Chow quickly, I hated doing this, they're like hidden in the level and it's generally not fun, beating a stage within a time limit, and completing a hard mode variant of the level with additional hazards and enemies. SA2 isn't a short game to 100%, as the emblem system returns from Adventure 1, 180 emblems to collect by doing basically anything, and the reward is a pretty neat stage that I won't spoil. My favourite stage has to be Final Rush. It's like 90% rail grinding and it has an endless amount of alternate paths with there being so many interesting shortcuts you can take due to how vertical that level is. There are 2 campaigns, the Hero Story with Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, and the Dark Story with Shadow, Eggman and Rouge. Each character falls into one of the 3 gameplay styles, and each set of characters control the exact same with minor differences and upgrades, so everything I mentioned in the Hero Story will also apply to the Dark Story counterpart. For example, Sonic and Shadow control the exact same, so I won't talk about him as much gameplay wise. Shadow has access to 4 exclusive stages, but I really didn't enjoy Final Chase. It has these strange flying pillars where you walk on them and you keep spinning around the pillar, which makes it really annoying to control, and most of the stage is just walking up them, meaning it overstayed its welcome quickly. But overall, I had a blast in most of Sonic and Shadow's gameplay. It's by far the best part of Adventure 2. Tails is back and he's in a mech now. He controls almost the same as Gamma from Adventure 1, which is such a strange change, but sure. Apparently he wasn't even meant to be in the game playable, but due to fan outrage, they just shoehorned him in as the Hero Story version of Dr. Eggman, which I couldn't find a proper source for this, but yeah. Like Gamma, you can tap the B button to do a simple shot straight ahead that's used to break crates that impede your progress, or you can hold it down and start locking onto targets and then release a barrage of homing missiles to destroy basically anything, from enemies to bullets. The more enemies you lock onto, the bigger point bonus you'll get, so getting an A rank is a balancing act of getting to the goal as fast as possible and stopping to lock onto multiple enemies, which, yeah, that's just Gamma's gameplay. The mech controls feel a bit strange since the jump feels extremely heavy, which, yeah, makes sense, it's a big mech. But slight turns really slow you down, which would be fine, but you move extremely fast when going in a straight line. Also, you'll need to do slight turns to lock onto enemies, so they control like they have dying engines, since you have to keep flipping between speeding up and slowing down all the time. The mech characters actually have health bars, which kind of goes against the normal rules of Sonic, but now rings are used to regain lost health instead of one ring being a safety net against damage. Tails has access to 4 stages, and in my opinion, this is where the problem starts, as the level design feels frustrating. A big example of this is in Mission Street, as this is where you unlock the required and extremely useful booster upgrade that allows you to hover so you can cross larger gaps. There's this part where the street crumbles and then you're meant to fall down to the lower road where the upgrade is. But I went so fast because I was going in a straight line that I managed to stay on the higher road, and this meant I couldn't beat the level. Okay, yeah, I realized my mistake after restarting the stage, but that shouldn't even be possible. I think they try to stop players from taking the top path through cheap enemy placement, but Whilst we're on the topic of cheap enemy placement, oh my god, there's so many moments where it's just like, how are you meant to react to like 90% of these? That's just unfair. This is made even more frustrating due to how health works on them. So it's not like you can, make up for bullshit enemy placement by just picking up a ring. No, you need to pick up multiple rings or you're gonna have to start the level again. Eggman stages have their fair share of bullshit, but it's not quite as bad as Tails. But I really enjoyed Cosmic Wall, and I wish every mech stage was like that. Since it's in space, you can jump really high and you're pretty floaty, and activating the hover will make you ascend for a few seconds, and that means you can have decent platforming whilst keeping the unique aspects of the mech gameplay. Like, sure, that level is a bit too long and it really drags on, but it's a shame that it's Eggman's final level. To summarize, the mech gameplay is frustrating at worst and meh at best. Unlike Tails, Knuckles returns with his acrobatic treasure hunting gameplay kept mostly intact from Adventure 1. Rouge is the dark story version of Knuckles. Like Adventure 1, you just plopped into an area and you gotta find 3 pieces of the Master Emerald. You can still glide, climb, punch, and dig like before, but Knuckles has a few noticeable changes to his gameplay. In mid-air, you can use the new Drill Claw move to spiral your way to the ground with insane speed. When you hit the ground with the move after getting the specific upgrade, you dig into the ground, which is such a good improvement before, because in Adventure 1, you had to press A and B at the same time to dig while standing still, and that felt really weird to do. Since some of his levels have water, Knuckles now has the ability to swim, but while his vertical speed in water is pretty fast, his horizontal speed is really slow, which makes swimming through the tunnels in his final stage feel really sluggish. The absolute worst change to the treasure hunting gameplay is how the radar has been nerfed, as it can only track 1 emerald at a time now. This means you can completely miss emerald pieces despite being extremely close to them, or you can accidentally find them by complete chance, and I don't get it. All this does is pad out the treasure hunting levels and make them take far longer than they need to. If I had to guess, I think this change might have been made due to the new hint boxes. You talk to them, you get a vague hint of where in the level the emerald piece should be for a slight point reduction. I guess if the hints could have talked about any of the 3 emerald pieces, then it could have confused the player, but I don't know. I mean, there's probably some sort of workaround. There was Tikal was the one that helped you before. She just pointed you where it should be, and that worked perfectly fine. Like, emerald hunting was fun before, and these changes just stained the gameplay style. Unfortunately, I do not enjoy almost half of the treasure hunting stages. For Death Chamber and Egg Quarters, which are like the same stage with a unique gimmick in Rouge's version, with a robot you gotta hide from, which is just more annoying than interesting. The real problem I have with that level is how cramped it feels, so you can't make use of the gliding ability, and I really don't like how maze-like that level feels. The entire level is just corridors to run through, and that doesn't make for a particularly interesting level. Meteor Herd and Mad Space suffer from the complete opposite issue, since that stage is just way too open since you can only track 1 emerald at a time. Expect to be climbing up and down the colossal maps multiple times. Mad Space is an insanely cool idea since you're going around little planets looking for pieces of the emerald, but it's brought down by how tedious it is. The other half of the stages are pretty harmless. Pumpkin Hill and Wild Canyon are probably the best stages due to being open enough to be able to make proper use of the entire moveset, but small enough that scanning for the next emerald piece was challenging but quick. The main thing that kept me playing was the music. Since stages have their own themes and are locked to a specific character, the music is themed all around that character. Knuckles and Rouge's stage themes stand out as they have lyrics in their songs, and Knuckles has these rap songs that I quite like. They're like stupidly cheesy and kinda dumb, but it's really catchy, which is surprising since all of the songs were apparently written in 1 day. I feel so bad for that guy. It's clear Haunted P would love to work with Sega again, but they just don't respond to him. It's so sad. But I'll leave a link to that interview in the description. Rouge has these jazzy upbeat themes in her stages, and well, I just like jazz, okay? I'm biased. It does fit perfectly with her character though. Boss fights and character battles also return, and while they're an improvement from before, which isn't really saying much, let's be honest with ourselves, they still feel pretty terrible since it's either awkward like with the Sonic and Shadow battles where you'll constantly spam homing attacks against each other, tedious like in the Biohazard fight due to it being just a repeating attack pattern where you have to wait until the game says you can hit it, or unclear like the final boss, since they never tell you how to swap characters, yet they'll constantly scold you for not doing so. One change I do like though is that the hub world has been completely removed. While, yeah, I didn't mind the hub world in 1 at all, removing it does help make the experience feel a bit more focused, as you aren't constantly having to travel to the next stage and being brought out of the story for a few seconds. I think this change allows them to tell a more interesting story, since they don't really need to worry about creating a whole new hub area for the amount of places you travel in the cutscenes, and also how all the areas connect to each other. Because of this change, the Chow Garden is now accessed by collecting a special Chow key and then completing the stage, where you can go visit the little dudes and boost their stats with the new Chaos Drives, or add body parts and change your stats wildly with the animals. This is actually a really good change, because going to the Chow Garden now to feed them stat boosting items is no longer something I need to go out of my way for. You can make them do races or Karase prizes, but that's not really what I cared about. You can also send them to school to learn new skills, or buy useful items from the black market with stock that changes depending on the amount of emblems collected, giving another reason to hunt down them. The Chow Garden is surprisingly addictive and made me keep replaying stages just to make them stronger and to collect enough rings to buy food for them. Like, here's this hero Chow who likes Sonic called Pancake. Yes, I called him Pancake. He absorbed a ghost, so he just like floats around. And here's Jeff. He's a Dark Chow because Eggman gave him lots of attention. The Chow Garden is surprisingly complex, and there's so many things you can do with Chows. So like they can reincarnate, they can transform into different things, they have life cycles and stuff. It's like, oh, my brain's gonna explode, and I wish they would bring it back in the newer games. It's like simple fun. The cutscenes have also been vastly improved, as they have better shots, animations, and pacing. Although the audio is somehow even worse in Adventure 1. The music is too loud, voices are too quiet, and the voice line timing and lip sync hasn't been changed from the Japanese audio, which is why characters will constantly cut each other off.
What the? Is everyone alright? We should be landing soon.
The hatch doors are open.
Don't sweat it, Knuckles. The only thing in the cargo bay are those
What do you
Master
mean,
Emeralds.
don't sweat it?
Right?
Land the
Knock
shuttle
it
and
off,
let me
Knuckles.
out.
We're gonna crash this thing if you keep that up. Oh no! Don't touch that lever!
So, is Sonic Adventure 2 a celebration of Sega's success in the industry, or is it a permanent reminder of why Sega ultimately failed in the console market? And honestly, I think it's both. Like, Sonic Adventure 2 highlights some of the best parts about the Sonic franchise, things like high-speed platforming, cheesy-ass stories, and just banging music. Aw, it's so good. Amazing soundtrack. Love it to this day. But it also highlights some of the worst parts about the Sonic games, like mediocre and required gameplay styles, like general lack of focus, and things like just frustrating design choices, especially in Adventure 2's case, the level design. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot to love about this game. Things like, the Chow Garden, I spent too many hours on that. Most of the Sonic and Shadows gameplay is still a fun time. One of the mech stages is really good, and half of the treasure hunting stages are fine. And, the ranking system is amazing, and there's a very good reason why every game past that point has had one. Because, it rewards perfect play, and rewards you for just being good at the game, which, games should do. And things like just the music, it's so good. I cannot fathom how they create such a perfect soundtrack. It's just up there in the top 10s, it's so good. But what about the story? And this is unfortunately where I'll have to cut off the video, because I have written 4,000 words about Sonic Adventure 2's story, and while I think that script is okay, this has been a mess. I've been working on this for 3 weeks, and nearly 4 in fact, a month, fucking hell. The story is, I quite like for what it tries to do and what it represents, because it kind of shows, some of the themes in that story kind of show what Sega was going through at the time, which was things of big change and stuff. But look, to sum it up, it took for fucking ever to try to make everything make sense, because it kind of does. And I don't want to go there because the video would end up being 50 minutes long. And I hurt to, it really hurts to say that, because I have spent so long trying to make it make sense. And I feel like that I should just move on and just leave it with the gameplay, because this gameplay portion I think is alright. But the story section, I don't know if you'll enjoy it, honestly. It's a bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest. So, yeah, I'll keep the script there. I'm not going to delete it, but I don't think I'll go back to it. Maybe one day, but yeah, sorry about the whole 3 weeks thing. But, you know, I'm going to try do some other stuff now. I'm probably going to move a bit away from Sonic, because the problem with doing Sonic games is that, yeah, the adventure games are not quick games to complete or talk about. There's a very, very good reason why tons of reviews on YouTube are like 40, like hour 20 or fucking 2 hours long just about the story. And if you want to learn about that, I suggest you go watch some of those videos, because those are amazing, and I don't think I have anything more to bring up. Everything I could say has been said already, so it's kind of pointless, but I'll have some more stuff in a week or two. So I hope you understand, and thank you for watching.